so don't think too much about it. So the questions were all about habit, and we know from our previous discussions that habits are the building blocks of everything, and that good habits can create amazing opportunities. Bad habits can lead us down paths that we don't want to go down. And almost everything we do as a human being is habit related. And there's also a great relationship between habit and habitat. So
Mm-hmm.
so the place that we live, our environment affects our habits a lot. Like you watched TV because your housemate watches TV. Maybe you drink a certain kind of wine because your friend drinks a certain kind of wine. Maybe you hang out in certain places because people
Mm-hmm.
you know hang out there. So the the things around us very much affect
Mm-hmm.
our habit, which is why we need people around about us with good habits, and we need
Mm-hmm.
people around about us who will challenge us when we need it. Um, and so sometimes that will be when we ask for it, and sometimes not when we ask for it. But um, there's sort of the unspoken relationship between friends where you should challenge them if you think that they can have some growth as a result of some level of change. Uh, it's it's funny. I was reading some posts on a gaming community online the other day, and so and you know how when you hear the truth, it rings like a bell, and somebody wrote, don't buy a new game until you finish the old one. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, yeah, I'm quite sure a lot of people who've got that kind of experience in life where um, they haven't, I don't know how to describe it. They haven't got all the juice out of the old orange before they start on the new one, right? Well, I think a lot of games are reflections of reality, and I always see it as levels. Um, if you read a lot of psychology and psychoanalysis, there's everything is very much divided into levels, whether it's um, Maslow's hierarchies of needs that people have, um, or whether it's just on a personal level that you can do something better. Um, everything has those levels, and I think the, I very much believe that we are in general unlimited. It's just the amount of effort that we put in that makes the difference. And if I look at myself and my experience in life, there's nothing that I've done that couldn't be better. And yet, at the same time,
We did the best at the time when
yeah,
we could. Mm-hmm.
I don't subscribe to that philosophy. I know a lot of people do. I don't subscribe to that because um, because in the same way, using similar words, you can say, "I could have done better," right?
Could have done better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did the best I could with what I had. Sounds to me like you were not prepared. Yeah, because it's like let's take a cake for example, and you make a cake and the cake is average, and you're like, well, I did the best I could with the ingredients that I didn't have any other ingredients to make the cake. Well, yeah, you didn't, but if you if there maybe you made the best of a bad situation, but maybe you made the best of a bad situation because you didn't
You
plan.
haven't been, yeah, and
Yeah.
you haven't done any shopping in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So there's something very often a contribution of something is better than a contribution of nothing, but it's better to get things right. It's just so much easier if we do get things right. So yeah, the trouble with the phrase we did the best we could with what we had is that it's the get out phrase for parents. Yeah. We did the best we could with what we knew, which was like, okay, how many books did you read on the topic? Zero. So wow, that's a fantastic level of effort. We spent 2,000 years building up data and information analysis, creating libraries for people, and then the people don't use them. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, so very often people don't put in the effort that's required. So back to the point of levels, I think that everything evolves in levels or leagues or divisions. Everything that's built is a duality of two sides putting pressure on each other, which psychologically is called the Hegelian dialect, which is the principle of politics, which is you have a left side which pushes one way or pulls, whatever, and you have a right side which pushes one way or pulls, and inevitably you get a middle road.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're either pushing together to go forward or pulling away to still go forward. Yeah, so inevitably you get a singular direction, even though you have two opposites or two apparent opposites, which is where we come to understand holistic principles, and everything that's good in life comes from the push and pull of different directions. There's no up without. Yeah.
Push and pull.
Yeah.
Communication between two.
Yeah. As one's going forward, the other is going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really important balance, and nothing makes sense without an opposite. Something doesn't make any sense without nothing. Left without right doesn't make sense. Up without down doesn't make sense. Man without woman doesn't make sense. It's the ability to contrast these things against each other that matter, and that people tend to think that there's one thing and that one thing is the right way. Well, no, because there's a right and a wrong way to do everything. So there's never just one right way. There's more as a series of experiences. And yeah, so the point that I was making was that there's nothing that I've done that couldn't in some way be better. The same way that everything is usually not quite as good as it could be. And that's just the way we have to live our lives. We have to live our lives understanding that everything that we have is just not quite as good as it could be. That's the way the world is. Right? There's always some little correction that we know could make things better, but is an impossibility. Especially in our human relationships. Like everyone is like, my relationship would be better if. Yes, but everybody's relationship would be better if.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it didn't work out because because perfection is nice as a goal, but essentially unattainable for most people unless you spend your entire life focusing on just one thing, which is probably going to disconnect you from the rest of the world. Spending 10 years becoming perfect at yoga is doing more of one thing is less of another. It's 10 years that you can't spend, I don't know, reading books about a topic that you like or something like that. So it's frustration is very often just symbolic of the fact that we need to come to terms with the fact that none of us are as good as we should be. Yeah, none of us are as good as we should be. We should all be better. I, I, my life on a daily basis is a stumble and tumble from failure to failure. But as long as you keep moving, you get somewhere, right? You get somewhere. And we've all seen those videos on YouTube of the miracle where the person can't walk and the doctor says you'll never be able to walk, and they
And
persist.
then they do.
They do eventually, because they focus everything they have on that one thing, and the mind is immeasurably much more powerful than the body. So once we focus our minds on things, and there are a few limits. That's why we have, I don't know, hotels at the tops of mountains and space stations and submarines and other crazy stuff, right? In fact, in general, the bigger the dream, the higher the probability of success.
The bigger the dream.
Yeah, the bigger the dream, the higher the probability of success.
How does that work?
Yeah, I know. It sounds crazy. Because
Not so many people are so ambitious.
Assuming that we all achieve some level of success on a daily basis, and realize that success is never visible to most people,
Mm-hmm.
the bigger the dream, the more people invest and understand and appreciate and respect it. Let's take an example. So every day, I don't know why this is in my head, but this is the example. So every day people get in boats and they row the boats.
Row. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And recently there was, like a few weeks ago, there was a group of people who just rowed a boat across the Atlantic. Like it took them, I don't know how long it took them. I don't know if it took them like a month or 2 months or 3 months. I don't know how long. Now people get in boats and do that every day. But because this activity was bigger than all of those other activities, it got more recognition, it got more attention. More people are aware of it, understand it, realize it, and invest in it in terms of time and energy, and writing articles about it and doing little pieces of news and information about it and so on. And more likely to get sponsorship, etc., etc. The sponsors don't want to sponsor the little things, right?
No, they want to go bigger because they want to be seen.
And that's what you want to sell to people who you want to sponsor you in whatever you do. It's, this thing is bigger than anything else, and that's why you should sponsor it, because the little things don't get noticed, but the big things do. So the bigger the dream, the higher probability of success, because more people will get involved in it. If you say to somebody, I'm going to build a house, it's not as exciting as I'm going to build a space station, right? Right, and the part of humanity, being human, is about dreaming. And whether we realize it or not, we all dream all of the time. And the only thing that matters is the manifestation of the dreams. Nothing else really matters. It's always puzzled me. There's that Metallica song, Nothing Else Matters. It's like a very big famous.
Yes, and it's low one.
And
it's popular.
Yeah. And usually with the big songs, they're usually ambiguous. right? The
Mhm.
meaning is like, look at any Coldplay song. It's like, what are they talking about? Like, nobody knows, right? The lyrics are so abstract that nobody understands, and they could mean anything to anybody, and so people create their own meanings and they buy into it, and that's what makes it successful, is that it doesn't mean anything to anybody. And with Metallica's Nothing Else Matters, it's what are they singing about? What are they talking about? So close, no matter how far, couldn't be much more from the heart, forever trusting who we are, and nothing else matters. And there's not really any main theme or topic or subject within the song. And that's the dream. That's the principle of the dream. That it is intangible. It is very hard to hold on to, and nothing matters more than actually helping the dream manifest, or turning something into the head into something in the hand. And then we have something that we can build with, that we can work with. So yeah, it's the difference between, it's what I think is the difference between being an employee and an employer.
Mhm.
It's just the employer has a bigger vision than the employee. There's nothing wrong with being either one, because they both bring great benefits to people, and um, very often employees are happier than employers, because it's for whatever reason. Maybe it's just because it's easier for a lot of people, right? Um, but the difference is the employer has the bigger dream. They've
Mhm.
they have the bigger vision. It's not, the employee thinks I want to be a teacher, the employer thinks I want to build a school.